Keir Starmer is duplicitous, he's two-faced, he's not a human rights lawyer, he's a human rights liar. He endorsed collective punishment, and now he's pusillanimously pretending he actually cares. I voted Labour all my life. This year will be the first year that I don't.
I will not vote Labour unless they have a massive U-turn on this. I don't think they have any right to govern based on what they've shown. They've shown a lack of scruples over one of the key political moments of our time, which should really be quite straightforward. Do you support genocide? Do you support the vocal and forthright annihilation of a people, almost 50% of whom are children, or do you not?
Everyone likes to hold the UK up as this pillar of democracy, and if we really were truly democratic, the politicians and Keir Starmer would be leading to everyone, people here, people across the country that have been calling for a ceasefire.
This is the first genocide where we've seen it broadcasted on social media. The videos and photos that you've seen from Gaza and the surrounding areas in the past few months have been horrific. Images that you will never ever forget. And a lot of it is children. I'm sure many of the MPs have children themselves, and I don't understand how they can, if they have children, how can they not look at those children and think of the children on the other side of the world who are complicit in their murder, in their tens of thousands.
The Palestinians right now, I feel, unfortunately, are experiencing absolute brutality of late-stage Western imperialism, and that's why we're seeing this sort of relentless onslaught. And I'm afraid, I think we all need to be very, very aware that what is being set is a precedent for a new normal. And I think it's really right that the Global South are realigning in sort of solidarity against this genocide, because I think, and I'm sure, like many black and brown people, many migrant people in the West, as well as people in the Global South, understand that what is happening to the Palestinians right now could happen to any of us.
I'm not English, so I can't speak on behalf of the English people here or why their politicians are acting the way they are, but I can truly say that the double standards that we are seeing, especially being from the region, is very infuriating for us. We cannot tolerate it anymore, and it's not sustainable for this world's growth. It's not sustainable for diplomacy. A lot of Arabs are being angered, so if we really want to move forward sustainably, this is not the way.
Where are you from?
I'm from Egypt.
Obviously, at the moment, there's like 1.4 million people stuck in Rafah. What might happen if those Palestinian people were to be sort of pushed across the border into Egypt?
Palestinians do not want to leave their homes. It's that simple. And this is actually something that is very infuriating for us to hear with a lot of Western politicians when they say, oh, why don't other Arab nations take them? We have taken Palestinians, but it's not up to you. And it's a very colonialist mindset to say, why don't you take the Palestinians? Who are you to dictate where the Palestinians ought to go? The UK is also complicit, which actually is quite ironic given that Britain started this whole farce with the British mandate of Palestine and what went forth. So you would think you wouldn't be so audacious given the history, but that hasn't been the case. And if anything, it's been extremely frustrating for us to see this and ironically look at your history and look at your colonialist history. Maybe it's time that Britain changes its stance and stops hiding behind political jargon and talks of inclusivity and nice suits and actually starts saying things as it is. Enough of this political veil.
I think the people already had lost a lot of faith in Parliament, but when they are putting forward an amendment to the vote today, that is purely to benefit themselves, and so they're not listening to the people. And so I think people have lost any trust that they still had in their MPs, in Parliament and in this process.
It is very tricky because I don't want to see another Tory government for the next however many years, but I currently am losing faith in Labour as well. I've voted Labour ever since I turned 18 and was able to vote, but currently I'm considering voting Green.
So I joined Green Party recently because of that, because of stance of what's going on in the Gaza. I'm just simply pacifist and anti-imperialist from this perspective. What I think about Labour? Shame, although I know it's a lot of good MPs doing great job. Zara Sultana and few other. Andy MacDonald actually was expelled, so they were good people, but we need to do it and encourage more people to coming here, give them support. That's my votes. So that's what we said. No ceasefire, no votes.
So the chant here is no ceasefire, no vote. Does that apply to you? Are you rethinking how you might vote?
I think everybody's thinking that. You know, none of the parties represent us. And what they're doing in Gaza is what they want to do to all of us. I mean, with things like the Rwanda plan, that's of a piece with what's going on in Gaza. They want people to die, drowned, and just have their lives destroyed. And we say no to that because all our lives are valuable, all our lives count. And we start with women and children who keep everything going in these catastrophes and are the least represented and the least resourced. So we're really standing with the mothers to defend ourselves. They're criminals and they're ready for people to die, but the movement is here to stop them worldwide, internationally. Thousands and millions of people have taken to the streets, and that's going to change the leaders and the so-called people in charge.
What would you like to see happen, like beyond just a ceasefire?
Well, first of all, we're with the mothers, the women and children in Gaza. They're the most impacted. Something like 20,000 children have been killed. Countless people are missing in the rubble. So the first thing is ceasefire, immediate aid, and then justice for Palestinians. And the Palestinians will tell us how that justice should unfold. But they have to have their land back, they have to have their rights, and we have to get rid of the apartheid regime in Israel. You know, they ended it in South Africa, and it's got to go in Israel. And people of color, we have a particular responsibility to be out on the streets and supporting Palestinian people until they win, because we're not free until Palestine is free.
Are you hopeful about anything?
I'm hopeful about everything, because this movement on the streets can change everything. We've come together in a way we haven't been in a very long time. I see all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds, and people are glad to be together and determined. People have been out week after week with their friends, with their families, with children in buggies, Parents for Palestine. I mean, there's been fantastic organizing. The International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network has been organizing and calling out the Zionists and speaking against those who support Israel. So there's lots to be cheerful about. At the same time, we grieve, we are horrified, we're devastated about Gaza. It's unbearable. I mean, words can't express what's going on, but we have those two things in our hearts, hope and horror.
I think the biggest place that I get hope is seeing everyone here like this, coming out and speaking up, but I see more hope in the UK public than I do in Parliament.